Hello everyone and welcome back to the second episode of Ask, All Should Know. This is one episode and the series that we're excited to be doing, and we are enjoying this one. So we would like to request you guys, the audience, to please give us feedback on how we can improve, and also importantly, suggestions on which other departments or issues that you'd like us to explore. For this episode of Ask, we will be diving deep into the Nagaland State Disaster Management Authority. And to make this possible, we are grateful to have the Joint Chief Executive Officer, that's the Joint CEO of Nagaland State Disaster Management Authority, which is under the Home Department of Nagaland. Thank you for your time, Mr. Johnny Ruangmei. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us your time. And before we get into, the disaster management in your department, it'd be nice if you could start by just telling us briefly about your background, maybe when you got into service, if there were some other responsibilities you had before joining the department, the authority.
Yeah. Thank you for the privilege. And speaking about the career that I have undertaken or I have experienced, I began my career in South India.
Okay.
And fortunately or unfortunately, when we pass out our postgraduate from Loyola College in Chennai, there was a tsunami down there in South India, which was devastating and very destructive, especially for the fishermen folks.
Right.
And we happened to join the recovery part of the tsunami down south there in India, Chennai. And from there, I happened to be one of the task force members when the National Disaster Management Act was, in the process of approving, or when the Disaster Management Act was under the clearance by the Parliament, both the houses.
Okay.
So before passing of the Act, there was a final consultation with all the stakeholders, and I happened to be there in the final consultation program of the Disaster Management Act 2005. And we were 12 of us as a task force member. I was a young professional there. I think I was the youngest guy, and we gave a lot of feedback in terms of redefining the Act and what are the things that needs to be in place in the Act.
Right.
That was my first experience with the disaster management. Then after my engagement with the UNDP there, I was recruited by the UNDP, and I came back to the state as a state advocacy advisor in the year 2006. It was, I worked with the same international agency, ULI. The program was funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation,
right.
And I was supposed to be taking care of the training and advocacy part of it in terms of HIV/AIDS program scaling up. And during that period of time, we have also started a new initiative in the state or in the country known as Nagaland Legislative Forum on AIDS.
Right, I remember.
LFA.
Yes.
We were funding that, and the entire initial period part of it, for the 1 year part, we will have to really provided hand-holding support to that organizations.
Yes.
Dr. Vinito was recruited as a state coordinator by UNAIDS. We were the one who facilitated, because the initial funding was given by our organization called Futures Group International, which was funded by Gates and Melinda Foundation.
Right.
And after that, I was placed by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, as a state facilitator for the NRHM program. The NRHM program in the Health Department, Health and Family Welfare Department. From 2008 to 2010, I was there. We have also scaled up the entire NRHM program in the state, like training of the ASHA workers, bringing the health centers as per the Indian Public Health Standard. We call it IPSS. IPSS. So then 2010, there was a transition period where UNDP was looking out for the state project officer to take forward the Disaster Management Authority of the state as mandated by the Disaster Management Act 2005.
Right.
In fact, I came back to disaster management sector after 5 years because I left 2006 disaster management sector and I was into the public health sector.
Right.
Then I was asked to take over the Disaster Management Authority as a state project officer. That was funded by the UNDP again. I came back to UNDP and that's how the Disaster Management Authority of the state began.
Okay.
I came in the month of November 2010, 1st of December. And officially I took over in the year 2011. So to be very frank, the Disaster Management Authority of the state, Nagaland, began in the year 2011 only.
11 only.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was nice knowing all those different parts about you. And you started with disaster management and came back to disaster management.
Yeah.
And now we'll get deep into disaster management. There's so many aspects of it.
Yeah.
So let's start with the basic. Like you were just saying about how it started. But can you just give us some more details about how it was involved? Because we know that it's not a full-fledged department. It's an authority under the Home Department. So how was it formed? When was it formed? And like the basic roles and responsibilities of the Disaster Management Authority in Nagaland.
In fact, as mandated by the Disaster Management Act 2005, that is the statutory act passed by the Parliament, Government of India, as per the act, each state government is supposed to institutionalize the State Disaster Management Authority under the chairmanship of the Chief Minister.
Okay.
And we have the State Executive Committee, which is headed by the Chief Secretary of the state. That is to ensure the execution of the business under the state authority. Now, we began in the year 2011. If I remember correctly, 2011, somewhere February or March, the old Chief Minister's residence office was burned.
Yes.
Yeah, then I happened to come up after that event, and Chief Minister was of the opinion that I'm still working with the health department. And then we said that the Chief Minister is the chairman of the State Disaster Management Authority, and I'm already back to the the Home Department, trying to institutionalize the authority, streamline the authority. Then he says, explain to me more about it. So I explained a little more about how other states are doing, like Assam, Bihar, Gujarat.
Okay.
After knowing that, he says, we will have the meeting. And the first meeting was held during 2011, 17th of March.
Okay.
And major decisions were taken by the present Chief Minister, our Honorable Chief Minister. And he has put in place quite many things. The first meeting, so that's how we began. Why it is not a full-fledged this one? If you really look at the Ministry of Home Affairs, we have the National Disaster Management Authority.
Correct.
That functions under the Ministry of Home Affairs. So likewise, we are also
State
an authority at the state level, but we functions under the Home Department.
Okay.
Because as an authority, we'll have to direct many other issues regarding risk or hazard or any threats that may be encountered due to natural calamities or by man-made.
Right,
Therefore, as a Home Department, the linkages to different other department is much more wider than having a single department,
Yes.
trying to connect to even different
Departments. Yes.
Like police or army. They have their own system of communications.
Correct.
And communicating to the police or any other uniform personnel, department. Home department has much more better
resources and
reach than
correct.
being a single independent department. That's the arrangement that is being made here, and that is I feel that is one of the most appropriate one. Other states who has the separate department as disaster management, they find it very difficult to coordinate and disseminate information which is necessary
on their own, right?
On their own,
yes. So you sort of answered the question that I was going to ask, whether your plans, I mean, if the state has any plans of making into a full-fledged, department on its own. So as of now, it's looking like it'll remain under home, or
it'll be one of the division of the home department.
Okay.
Like even in the Ministry of Home Affairs, we have the separate division called Disaster Management Division in the Ministry of Home Affairs, and that takes care of the entire disaster management ambit of or the role and responsibilities which is there in the national level for the entire country.
Right. But I feel that makes more sense also, like how you perfectly put it. Using the home department and their reach and their resources makes it easier for you to reach out to many departments that the disaster management requires most of the time to coordinate between. Can you tell us of some major programs and policies under the Disaster Management Authority? And in your opinion, how, which are some of the ones you feel that are being implemented properly, and some that you feel needs to do better?
Yeah. In fact, when we talk about the disaster management in the context of Nagaland, if you really look at it, the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. Likewise, we have a lot to do, but we are resource crunch state. Not only Nagaland, but many other northeastern states.
Correct.
For that matter, we wanted to do many things, but resources is one the key factor that we need to really bang upon in order to implement any program. But however, we are sustaining ourselves through the central funding only, and even the central funding is very, very meager compared to any other states, bigger states in India. So with that, we are doing it. But as mandated by the Disaster Management Act, we are to take care of the mitigation aspect of it, and plus the providing essential immediate relief in terms of restoring immediate infrastructures or providing immediate relief. Right. We are not basically a infrastructural development department like PWD.
Yes.
If the roads are damaged, people think that disaster management should build the road. No, it is not our duty to build that road which is being destroyed by disaster. But there are infrastructural development department like PWD, urban development. There are many other departments depending on the sector related. There are dedicated departments to take care. Right. So it is
their responsibility.
It is their responsibility, but we are there to facilitate and ensure that a risk factor is reduced.
Okay. You have many you have the Emergency Operations Center. You have your Community First Responder. You have many different things, maybe like units, I can call them, under the Disaster Management Authority.
In fact, we have the Nagaland State Disaster Management Authority is also one of the most active state authorities in India.
Okay, impressive.
If we ask anyone that, Nagaland, whatever we have and whatever little that we have, we are trying our level best to do, feeling the pulse of the people.
Okay.
So with that, even the staff or the officers who are working here are all young people. And that kind of energy is one that is, pushing us to do what we wanted to do or to do what we love to do.
Right.
So like we used to have a vision part of Nagaland State Disaster Management Authority, vision part of NSDMA. In fact, we had it for 2025, 21-25, I mean, 2021 to 25. This is our Nagaland
your vision plan.
Nagaland vision part.
Okay.
So if you really look at every quarter, what we do is we used to sit down together. We call it convergence.
Okay.
And that convergence is for the next quarter, what is that we wanted to do. We prioritize ourselves and we focus our energy into the key areas that we wanted to establish. In fact, we have established a lot of institutions like the community first responder. We have already trained for 200 plus villages. We are still trying to expand, but under the State Disaster Response Fund, we have only 10% of the resources can be spent for capacity building.
Okay.
That becomes very little.
Right.
Now, if you wanted to scale up the community first responder, we are putting it 10 able youth in each of the village.
Okay.
4 for first aid and 4 for search and rescue. And one is the team leader and one is the coordinator.
Yes.
So that comprise of 10 members from each of the village.
So that your plan or the vision of the authority is to have at least a 10-member team in each village.
In each village.
Okay.
But in order to reach out to or establish in all the villages,
correct,
we need to do training. Now, when we say training, disaster management or response or rescue training methods are very different.
Yes.
There are ways to, rescue the trapped person under the debris. We cannot simply pull out.
Right.
If we do not do rightly, instead of saving life, you will be killing them. So there are a lot of training component which is there. In fact, our vision is that we wanted to have a community first responder federations. So it will be a federation which is in place. It's a young people volunteers federations. Now, with the work that we are doing, now the government of India has also taken a good practices of community first responder training. And now the National Disaster Management Authority has launched a new program called Adamitra, which is volunteer, common volunteer. So we are going to scale up in a major way for 7 more districts here, because there is a pilot thing. They are scaling up only, not for the entire state, but they are trying to cover up slowly. The first was they have chosen only for Dimapur. Now they have expanded to another 7 districts. Likewise, maybe for other states as well, they are doing it. So that is one that we are doing. Another one that we are doing is we have also been able to install automated weather stations. When we say weather stations, they are just rain guards. Rain guards is different from the automated weather stations. Automated weather stations, we get we transmit the data through sensors. So the data sources are, we can get the rainfall data, we can get the wind speed, we can get the humidity, we can get the UAV index, and there are many other data that we collect from weather stations. So such weather stations, we have almost 50 plus across the state. We will still enhance that weather station. And every morning at 10 o'clock, our weather data is being shared with the Indian Meteorological Department, which is the IMD, we call it. IMD. Yes. So we share that every morning.
And sorry to interrupt you, sir, but what about some of the other maybe departments? Are they utilizing your...
Yes.
Can you just name a few?
In fact, the Soil and Water Conservation Department also has their own stations. So we share the data, to and fro. If they need our data, they take, but they give us the data regularly. In fact, they are also very supportive, and they have a lot of soil and water conservations. They put in place the weather stations because the mandate is different. Our mandate is we want to see the if there is any threats, potential threat by storm or heavy rain, so that lowland area can be early warning can be disseminated. Even yesterday, I think we issued one press note because there are a lot of snow falling. So many few districts like Pek, Jinabato, and then Tuan Sang, and this southern part of Kohima district, there are temperatures 0 and below.
Right,
That's the reason why snow falling was there. And there were a lot of people who are asking us whether that will continue and all those. But if that is going to continue for 1 week, snow falling, then we are going to send out an alarm. That is going to be like this, so you need to be careful. But one day, it's not going to be impacting.
Correct.
So,
Yes.
So those are our focus. The soil and water conservations, though they have the weather stations, but the focus is different. But we share the data together. And what I wanted to say is that we are the only state providing weather data to the Indian Meteorological Department.
To the IMD, you're the only state that is providing data.
Yeah.
So that is impressive.
And we are working very closely with them too.
Like you said, the vision, I will take a look at that later, and I will also share it to the audience, and they can see like the vision that your authority, the NSDMA, has. In your opinion, because a lot of people do know about the Disaster Management Authority, but in your opinion, how relevant and necessary do you feel a Disaster Management Authority is like to the people of Nagaland?
The Disaster Management Authority, as I was telling in the beginning, we are human being. We are frailty.
Yes.
We may not be a perfect being, but we are trying our level best to feel the pulse of the people. When we say feeling the pulse of the people, we are trying to create the importance of this authority. I will give you one example.
Okay.
If my house is burned down, my house value must be, in terms of many lakhs. But at that moment, the Disaster Management Authority comes in with immediate relief so that the family can survive for a few weeks. So those are the things which is very important. When we are at the bottom, the Disaster Management Authority comes in. Or during this pandemic, when we are so afraid of the unknown, we never knew. We were of the opinion that the COVID-19 virus will zoom around and then attack everyone. That was the fear kind of there, because we are afraid of unknown as a human being.
Yes.
And during that time, we are there. All those assistance or whatever ways that we can. Of course, we are not saying the Disaster Management Authority officers or staff is doing. It is being supported by everyone, but we are there at the center to provide anything that is necessary at that hour. So what we are trying to say is we are there to feel the pulse of the people when we need. And when someone is drowned, we send our forces to be there with them. I would say when we are good, happy, Disaster Management Authority may not be relevant. But when we are in trouble, we are there.
I mean, I feel it is very important, just my opinion, personal opinion. And like in a place like ours where we have a lot of some major, but there's so many, always a landslide happening here, floods in Dimapur or earthquakes, whatever it may be. So, I mean, it is important for that, like you said, that immediate relief, like how your task force have been sent out to provide relief to families and such. So, I think it is a very important, I keep calling it department, but it's an authority. But yes, I think it's a very important one. I don't know if you'll have all the numbers, but can you just tell us a little bit about, how much has the NSDMA assisted the people of Nagaland? Because you were there from the beginning, so,
As per our data, the Nagaland population has only 19 plus lakhs.
Yes.
Now, as per our data, the relief that we have provided, plus the number of small mitigation, immediate emergency restorative work that we have undertaken across the state since 2011 to this very day, I think we are trying our level best. I'm sure, there are a lot of complaint that we get that, his application or her application is not taken up and all those. But that we will not be able to do to everyone. We have to really look at which is a priority, which is important to the people, which is important to the locality, which is important to the village. So that's what we are looking at it. So if you really look at it as per the as on 2017, we have helped more than 25 lakh beneficiaries. By now, it will cross more than 30 lakh. And we still have more than 10,000 plus beneficiaries to still be given out. Still to give out, yeah. But we have to wait for the resources so that we can, get to. We have
that.
And
yes, please continue.
Even, see, when it comes to disaster, it affects all. Whether tall, short, rich or poor, everyone is impacted. So therefore, disaster management, we are one industry which is cutting across all the sectors. Say like there are a lot of buffalo cases, buffalo deaths because of the epidemics in Mesafema area and in this Miluri blocked. We have all the reports here. We have given out to some. We are still yet to give out to people. That is related to veterinary. When my paddy field or my fields are washed away or destroyed, that relates to agriculture. But correct. We give out relief. When my paddy field drainage or canal is being destroyed, that relates to irrigation and flood control, and then we come in there as immediate relief. When the schools are blown off, we are there to come in a small little way that relates to school education. So we are one which is cutting across the entire sector, almost everything which is under the sun. So in that way, our reach is very, very large. I'll give you one good example. In case if any other infrastructural development department, suppose they are going to build a bridge. The total cost of the DPR of the bridge must be around 100 crore, 200 crore, 300 crore. But that is only for one particular project. But for Nagaland State Disaster Management Authority, even if I get 20 crore or 40 crore, that's for everyone. That's cutting across all the sectors, all the departments. That's for every people. So though our money must be small, but our reach is very, very wide.
When you mention this ties in perfectly with my next question, which is about the sources of funding for the NSDMA, and also which do you think takes priority? Like, where does most of your spending go? Does it go to training? Does it go to task force? Or can you just share with us a little bit about?
We have a very limited source of funding. As per the Disaster Management Act, the government of India was supposed to create the State Disaster Response Fund and that State Disaster Mitigation Fund. But until the 15 Finance Commission, the mitigation fund was not constituted by the government of India plus by some of the states government. So only this time we have the state mitigation fund, and that I'll give you the real thing. We have the state disaster management, state disaster response fund.
Yes, SDR.
So here it comes in 2 installments. This year, our total allotment under that fund is 40 crore. It comes in 2 installments. And out of that 40 crore, 20% is for state mitigation fund. We'll have to set aside. So the center has not released that 20% yet to us. They have released only 18 crore and 18 crore 2 times. So now out of that one, we have different budget breakup which is there. Now which is 20% for state disaster mitigation fund. another 40 persons for response and relief, then another 30 persons for recovery and reconstruction, then 10% for preparedness and capacity building, that is training.
Yes.
Then 20% each of these different head for administrations.
Okay.
Why we say administration? Because now, because of the state financial resource crunch, we cannot create posts anymore.
Yes.
So we will have to dovetail, a contractual staff in order to sustain or in order to carry out the the activities of the state authority.
Okay.
Now, here for us, we have only 10 regular officers. The Nagaland State Disaster Management Authority, Home Department, this division, has only 10 regular officer. The rest are all contractual. So those contractual staff salary is being paid from the administrative cost of the SDRF. So the major chunk goes to response and relief. But if I get 18 crore, that 18 crore is not for one component. It is catering to the entire ambit of the disaster management activities of the state authorities.
Cuts across sectors and departments, cuts across all districts. You have to cover many. So in your opinion, you feel that you are way under, the financial constraints are really big and it's not letting the disaster management authority do its job how you want it to because of the financial constraints.
Now we are looking out for other resources. We are interacting with different external funding agencies like German, Swiss. So we already have some of the program which is in place. Like we have the risk transfer project. Nagaland is the only state in India to be implementing that. I think Government of India is looking at it and then trying to make it as a
that's great news. Yes.
Nagaland state is the only state implementing parametrics weather insurance schemes, which is being funded by the Insur Resilience Solution Fund from Frankfurt. Yeah.
Can you just explain to us a little bit about what it is that?
So the idea is, in case if there is a rainfall, trigger point more than 100. Then I get the payout. Suppose if I insured the entire Dimapur for 100 crore and I pay a premium of 1 crore. I'm giving the example.
Right.
Then if Dimapur get the trigger of that one, I'll get 100 crore. The Swiss Re, the reinsurance company will pay to us, pay to the government. So now the government will like to do everything there. Because in the State Disaster Response Fund, there is a very strict criteria for us to comply. You cannot go and suppose the government of Nagaland may require rebuilding of the bridge which is being taken away, but our resources are not allowing to do that. So these are the areas where we will expand. So we are going to renew again for this coming financial year, and the government of India is. The entire team is looking at it, and Nagaland is picked as one of the good practice, and we used to be there as a resource person to.
That's nice. That's nice to hear that we are innovating and being one of the leaders in setting the tone for the country also. So that's congratulations on that. That's nice.
I would like to add on another one also that we are also looking at. By the way, Nagaland is the first state authority in India also to be using drone technologies. Most of our staff and our officers who are in the district, by the way, disaster management authority in the district is DC. We don't have a separate department. It is the DC who is operating. It is the DC who is implementing. He is known as chairman of the district disaster management authority. That's why when we say a district counter, all the district administrators are a part and partial of the disaster management authority as per the act, as per the statutory act. So what we are looking at it is we wanted to establish a Nagaland Disaster Research Center. This will be a highly beneficial to the scholars, those who want to really pursue for higher studies. We are looking at establishing 80 centers across the state.
Okay.
Now that census would be, we will have the meteorological atmospheric weather sensors. We will have earthquake seismograph sensors. We will have the landslide monitoring sensors. So these sensors, all this data would be collated at the Kohima Research Center. And this data we will be able to also use for projecting any threat from the atmospheric or meteorological or anything.
Right.
So we are going to come up with the research center, and that we are looking at funding from outside.
From outside. Okay.
We are also looking at establishing Nagaland disaster resilient village. 80 villages.
80 villages that will under this plan.
That will become a model. We wanted to bring out capacity building of the one. We will have the village disaster management plan. We will have the 3D risk and hazard mapping of the village area.
Right.
Then we will have the village incident response systems. All those that will become a model. In fact, now some of the officers from the Ministry of Home Affairs, they started asking us to give. We have already completed the entire project, but we are selling that project. I hope there will be a buyers, and we are not looking at Government of India alone as our buyer,
right.
But we are looking at outside Government of India or outside the country of India to be one of our buyers.
That will be really nice if that happens. I hope for the best for that. Also, regarding the research center that you just mentioned with all the 80 sensors and all this, when that happens, I hope that time also I can get you and to talk a little bit about that at a later time when it hopefully happens soon.
We also using the weather satellite data. It's called CHIRPS data. So we have every month. So we compare with the ground data and the satellite data, and that's how we work around.
Okay. We've covered quite a lot of things, and of course, we can keep talking for hours and hours if we go. But one important thing that I wanted to touch on is, you mentioned a little earlier, but when it comes to the COVID-19 and the pandemic that we've been facing for the past 2 years or so, I know for a fact that the Disaster Management Authority has played a crucial role and with coordinating and all. But I wanted to get some details about what are all the things that you were doing in your capacity as the authority, NSDMA. What was your contribution and what were your roles when this whole pandemic was happening?
As per the directive of the Ministry of Home Affairs, Disaster Management Division, we issue those SOPs, we issue those containment measures, those guidelines, lockdown measures and all those policy matters. The State Disaster Management Authority of Nagaland is the one who is doing.
Okay.
Which is when we say the state authority, the executive chairman is the chief secretary.
Chief secretary, yes.
Yeah, and authority chairman is the chief minister. Of course, the government of Nagaland has also constituted a high power committee, which is also under the chairmanship of chief minister only. So they are the one who takes the measure decisions. But the state authorities issues those decisions, guidelines, in terms of guidelines as a containment measure. That is one in terms of policy and planning. That's one that we do. Another one is we coordinate with many other line department or many other senior officers who are in the line department to come and devote themselves. We have the war room, state war room, which functions under the state executive committee chairman, the chief secretary.
Correct.
All those war rooms, officers, detailment and everything is done from here. Of course, those officers are all from other line departments who come and work. They work 24/7 round the clock. Yes. And those are the things that we supervise. And then also we share data of the COVID pandemic in coordinations with the health department, health and family welfare department, and also the district task force and we relay that to the government of India, all our state data. And for that matter, I think Nagaland is one of the state who did it also. No other state has given, for working people, the first phase of lockdown, those working people who are outside the state were paid some, as an immediate relief kind of thing, or students were also given some perks, during the first phase of lockdown.
Right.
No other state government has done it. And those payment to the students, those payment to the working professionals from Nagaland working outside the state is all done from the state authority. And our staff, the first time we will have to pay in volume through the account transactions. The banks, I would like to acknowledge those banks, State Bank of India, here Secretariat Branch, Axis Bank and SDFC. They were also on, the war footing, working with us, trying to transfer till late night. I think that we have made ourselves. Those are the contributions that we have done. And also the district task force, all the expenditures. Of course, the health and family welfare expenditure is totally different from our emergency thing. But all the district task force expenditures, the containment measures, everything is coordinated, released from here.
And on that note, I would also like to acknowledge you, sir, and also the entire, disaster management authority, all your officers and all the, even the contractual people who are working, the resort, the relief teams, the task force that you have, all the people who are, combining and working. Our, it's an interview, it's a podcast. Our show is all about promoting positivity and also acknowledging the good things that are happening in our state. And like you said, I hope the people have listened, because there are quite a few things that you said that, we should be proud of, that Nagaland is leading the way in, like with the IMD and with the upcoming, hopefully soon, the research center and all that. So we'd like to acknowledge you for that and your authority also.
Thank you for this opportunity. So I would like to also acknowledge, like Dimapur, our Home Guard and Civil Defense.
Okay.
We call it State Disaster Response Force. Those are the state disaster response.
Yes.
Our state disaster response force directorate is the Home Guard and Civil Defense Department. Look at it. During the pandemic, those poor state disaster response force will have to take the body. Burial is done. Burial is done by them. Even the family members were scared to go. And these people were the one in the front, working.
The real frontline
picking up the dead body from the hospital and to the cemetery. Can you imagine during that period of time? Of course, now we know what is pandemic, but everyone was under,
very,
a very fearful situations. And
correct.
Our personnel, I would like to thank in a very personal way to the State Disaster Response Force personnel in all the districts. They have done a wonderful job. When every one of us were hiding, they were there in the front, risking their life.
Yes.
So even our staff here at the State Authority Secretariat, plus the District Task Force staff, when we were all, people were scared to come out, we will have to go. For a few weeks, I don't want to even touch my, son and my daughter, because I felt that I must be carrying the virus and going back home. And some of my staffs were asking, we have a small kid and we are scared to go back home. Please kindly put us in the hotels and all those, So that kind of fear psychosis were there.
Of course, yes.
So that's what I'm saying, the importance of disaster management authority or the importance of disaster management.
I agree.
When we were at the, bottom,
the worst,
gripping by the fear, we will have to be there because that's our duty. And I used to be telling our staff, you are here, not in any other department. Disaster management, when people are not there, you will have to be there. For what? To save life, to save property. And that's our duty. And I used to be comparing ourselves that it's a mission. It's not even your professional career.
Right.
It's your mission in life.
Yes.
And if you don't have that kind of attitude, I used to tell, I think this is not a right place for you to be here. It's a mission. We talk about from the theological perspective, like the church missionaries, workers who go and risk their life. Same here. When people need us, we have to be there. So, in a way, we may not be doing enough, as I said. But whatever we are doing, we love what we do. And we will be loving what we will be doing.
That is very nice. We are grateful to you and your team, the whole authority, the people everywhere, and we acknowledge you. And thank you for your time once again, sir. I hope to chat with you in the future about
Most welcome.
all the other upcoming things that are coming.
Anytime.
Thank you
Most
so much.
welcome. Yeah, thank you.